Nice.
Later on this month I have a video titled Where Are They Now, Sssniperwolf? This probably should have gone inside that. I may have to re-upload it to include this in fact. Recently it came to light that Sssniperwolf has lost one of her many motions concerning her lawsuit with Evan Young, aka Sausage, her ex, with whom she had built her YouTube channel with over 9 years. It had been alleged, by the way, that he had done all the gameplay because she's not a real gamer, and that he owned a certain percentage of that channel or was entitled to it because of the relationship they'd had for so long. There is an argument there, by the way, when you build an entire business with somebody. Yes, you are owed something. Sssniperwolf has been filing a number of motions. These motions happen to be thrown in before the previous one has even been looked at. It can be interpreted as a form of desperation because one does not believe they are going to win. And by the end of this video, there is going to be some credence to that. A YouTuber by the name of Mad Catster, who I'm going to link in the pinned comment down below, had put out the information from the Sssniperwolf motion to dismiss this. Dismiss Evan Young's claims against her. I highly recommend you all go subscribe to them. We're going to look at the motion and the result of that, because this is quite tasty. New York is a large city in the United States. The moon revolves around Earth. A chicken has 4 legs. That's what it says. I'm not making this up, and you might be right. There is a big problem with mass breeding of chickens, and people do like drumsticks. I've always been more of a breast man myself. Big, juicy breast. When you file a motion to a court, the last thing you want to be seen doing in a very serious situation is patronizing the court, being condescending, speaking down to in any manner anyone who is looking over your case. Apparently, whoever's in charge of Sssniperwolf's legal affairs is still going through legal school, or is a toddler. Obviously, a chicken does not have 4 legs. You haven't seen the inbreeding problem, have you? But it took you a second. It really didn't. Don't confuse Young's repeated statements as truth just because they have some air of familiarity. Brackets. Most animals have 4 legs, which is why it took you a second. Close brackets. Oh dear God. Repetition does not equate to reality. The court shouldn't fall prey to the illusory truth image. People tend to perceive claims as truer if they have been exposed to them before, which is the definition of truth effect. Young's claims should be heard in the family division. Now the reason for that is because if this goes to the family division, the impact monetarily will be lessened to Sssniperwolf. And this is obviously how it can be perceived, as how Sssniperwolf is perceiving the events as they unfold, no doubt getting some legal advice and impulsively acting on it. Aaliyah concedes that some of the claims that Young makes are viable. Those claims are best heard in the family division in the dissolution proceeding, and all stem from alleged breaches of fiduciary duty related to the waste of the community business Channel Red. There is some, well, credence to that. Sssniperwolf, since the whole incident with Jack's films, has dropped right off. She's not uploading as much because she's not monetized, apparently, allegedly, although there are some browser add-ons that would say bullshit. And if Young is a part owner of this business, then it can be seen that Sssniperwolf has been tanking it. Of course, her impulsive and reckless behavior did not help the situation. She also has created other channels, and that had been seen in videos that I have done on her as her trying to make money elsewhere that he cannot claim ownership of. If the court retains Young's claims, the derivative claims fail because Young did not comply with the derivative statute and failed to plead futility with any specificity. I love the word derivative because it's such a dismissive term. It looks down upon, basically. But you notice from the start to this bit, the language has changed, and that is to now try and appear more professional. This is where you know somebody with some legal basis has actually bothered to write something. Moreover, the 4 remaining claims have no legs. I see what you did there. This case is a breach of contract and breach of fiduciary duty case. Everything else is excessive and doesn't fit. If the court doesn't kick the whole thing to the family division, Aaliyah requests that the court pare the claims down and streamline the litigation because 1. The implied covenant is redundant. 2. Young did not properly allege any intentional interference claim. 3. The conversion claim is really a breach of fiduciary duty claim. And 4. Accounting is a remedy. The big problem early on with the kitchen sink as a statement as a whole is that when you look at this, you realize they're trying to find a way to genuinely get him into family division court. But does this fall in line with that anymore? the argument can be made no, it can't be. You are trying to clutch at a form of straw, and by doing so, you are actually patronising those who are looking at this. You failed with a number of motions so far. This one does not help you. The family division claims. The distinction between the counterclaim and the complainant is that the counterclaim's allegations focus on harm to Channel Red, whereas Young's allegations focus on harm to him. I'll be honest, both in this instance are mutually exclusive, which is the point of his claim. His claim is a stake in Channel Red. If he is not being honoured, or you are in a way taking from him what he is owed, then you are tanking the business, which means you are harming him and you are harming Channel Red. That is the entire point. These claims are better left to the family division because Young is seeking to balance the scales of what he claims he is due, not seek redress for harm to Channel Red. Well, I guess this then does raise the question of, well, how long is he entitled, so the period that he is owed, and what is that percentage from what you have? In this country, when it comes to relationships deteriorating, if you've been together long enough, you pretty much have to give a lot. You were Sniperwolf, the breadwinner of the relationship, the face of it, the expressionless one that does that weak smile in front of a toilet, which is a very odd selfie. Lots of people do them. I don't get it. But you were that. You stole your personality of somebody else, Aziland, I believe, and you basically used it to make the most obnoxious content, now the laziest content. Sausage is entitled to his share of all of it. The channel itself has been hemorrhaging views for months since the Jax film drama unfolded. That one thing with you and your sister undid everything. Sausage is well within his right to use that against you, because you have other channels and you upload there. In fact, it was an accusation levied at you, Sniperwolf that is, that she was uploading to those channels that were still monetized while the main was not. Re-uploading old content, in fact, which there was a lot of truth to, by the way. Contrarily, a close read of the counterclaim demonstrates that the requested relief is meant to protect Channel Red. A request to expel Young as a member and manager in Channel Red because of his breaches of fiduciary claim, breach of the ceasefire agreement and implied covenant of good faith concerning how to operate Channel Red, and dissolution of Channel Red. These causes of action are distinct from the family divisions charged to equalize. Now I want to raise a point here. There is a mention here of him being as a member and manager in Channel Red, and expelled because of his breaches of fiduciary duty. There's no reference to what he had done to be expelled though. It's just a long word being used to overcomplicate something I'm sure could have been written there. If you had time to write some crappy chicken joke, you had time to write that. Breach of a ceasefire agreement sounds like a handshake. It's not legally binding. And the dissolution of Channel Red. Now that's quite fascinating. That part intrigues me. What level of dissolution are we talking about here? And how does this, as a business, then have to go to the family division? Because that doesn't sound like it belongs there at all. And divide community assets, but Young's claims will focus on his receipt of equal profit, an equalization that the family division is more than equipped to reconcile. The family division would at best then give him just the 50% at most. If he was more involved than Sniperwolf was beyond her being the face, then he has a stake to a claim of a higher percentage. She may be the face, but if he was the brains of it, she's stiffing him, which is a bit ironic, I guess. While Young tries to distinguish between his direct claims and those of Waste is fundamentally what he is claiming. He is accusing Aaliyah of dissipating joint assets because he claims that Sheila, or Aaliyah, created subsequent channels to potentially divert and or otherwise detract viewers, thereby depriving Young of his entitled profits by diverting profits and or other monies obtained through the business and operations of Channel Red. There's a point here because she plateaued for a few months around the 200 to 300 million views a month, and then her views started to slowly come down. Slowly, but they did, because around that time the other channels were started, so it can be outright stated as verifiable fact. Oftentimes, the family division encounters these issues and engages in an equalization process to rectify the alleged misuse of community property during the marriage, and it cites a case. Implied covenant. The parties disagree that an express breach of contract and implied breach of covenant can be identical. Young argues a party can breach an express term and the spirit of the agreement at the same time. In Aaliyah's view, there must be a factual distinction between these two causes of action. Otherwise, every time there is an express breach of contract, there will also be an implied breach of contract. That is not the law. Failure to perform the express covenant to pay an insurance claim is not the sine qua non for an action for breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. To characterize the cases otherwise would in effect construe them to hold that any breach of the express covenant would give rise to the tort action for bad faith. We hold explicitly that such a result is not permitted. Not every breach of an express covenant is a breach of the covenant of good faith and fair dealing. Fair is a very, very vague word. As much as Young hatched the idea to expand the statute to cover accounting claims between members in a limited liability company, no such claim exists in law. Accounting here is a remedy, and there is no need for the court to allow Young to expand the proceedings to allow random, non-cognizable claims. I again believe this to be wrong. I really do, because he was the manager, therefore this is not a part, he was expelled as well, but this is not a part of family. You two having been in a relationship for so long is the separation, has to be separated. Conclusion: the entire complainant should be dismissed and tried in the family division because Young does not allege any claims distinct to Channel Ray. The claims are really all predicated on waste claims regarding the community business. But if the court keeps the case, the derivative claims fail because Young did not make a derivative demand or plead with specificity why it would be futile. Furthermore, Young's remaining arguments don't have legs. I see we're doing the patronizing again. While alleging everything but the kitchen sink may be appropriate sometimes, here the court should pare the claims down to those that aren't simply rooster games. You continuing with the condescension. Interesting. The parties can then focus on the viable claims rather than running around like chickens. Oh, fuck off. This is all quite fascinating really, isn't it? Yes, I can tell with the eye rolling, some of you might not be able to see the screen right now. Don't forget to smash the like. There is a conclusion to this, folks. A court has reviewed and considered the following: the defendant's motion to dismiss filed on the 5th of October 2023, plaintiff's response to defendant's motion to dismiss filed on the 24th of October 2023, the defendant's reply in support of motion to dismiss filed November the 11th, 2023. The parties did not request oral argument and the court does not believe it will be helpful. When reviewing a motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim, allegations in the complaint that are well pled are taken as admitted. Sssniperwolf's motion was dismissed. She failed, which means this will not go to the family division, nor should it. It is believed by a number of people that this is going to be the start of a path for Sssniperwolf that could cost her channel. I would say I'd feel sorry, but to be honest, with the amount of money she's made, and I had pointed out, in one Christmas she had over 500 million views. That equates to several million in pounds, maybe $10 million before any taxes. If you went to a business, the tax is different. She made absolute bread. She really did. If those in her life were not properly compensated for that, then it's on her, and it will get more and more expensive. The more you F around, the more you find out. You can keep filing your petitions and your motions, but really this has to be resolved properly. And for Sssniperwolf, well, it's going to get expensive, very expensive. I'd feel sorry for her, but again, all that money you made, kind of jealous.